Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me for this workshop. Now, what I'm going to do is give everyone maybe 30 seconds to a minute just to pile in. But in the meantime, if you just want to put in the chat where you're watching from, we'll get started there. So let's see where everyone's coming from, and we'll give everyone about a minute. Crystal first in with Michigan, Keziah, Colorado, love it. India, Croatia, oh, wow. All right, brilliant. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. So what we're going to do is, oh my goodness, everyone's coming in. Wow. Okay, brilliant. So what we're going to do is bring up the presentation and I'm going to run you through it. Also, I just want to go through a few things beforehand. We'll bring that up now. Perfect. So initially I planned this to be a little bit longer, but we are going to try and condense it into about 50 minutes and then have room for a Q&A at the end. What I also, oh, wow, there's so many people in the chat. That's amazing. What I want to ask from you guys is if you have any questions along the way, put it in the chat. I will try and answer some along the way, but what I'll do is I'll just batch them up at the end and get through to those. So welcome to Professional Web Design with Squarespace and with me, Sam Crawford. So here is what we're going to go through. It's basically 5 mini masterclasses within one longer masterclass. I'm really, really excited to bring this to you. So we're going to go first off through what even is Squarespace for those who aren't familiar. I know there may be a few of you who are on here who don't quite know the scope of the product. Who am I? Then we're going to go into the masterclasses. So unlocking solopreneur success, the freelance advantage, how to structure your days as a web designer, the 5 stages. I should have changed that. We've got 7 stages. I wanted to add a couple more in there. 10-step handover checklist for web designers, and then hopefully space for a nice juicy Q&A at the end. So comments, love it, love it, love it. Keep them coming. Now, what is Squarespace? So I know most of us are going to be familiar, but it just helps to frame the discussion that we're going to have if I quickly run through what it is. So it's a web design platform, but it has all of these different aspects to it. So you can build websites, you can purchase domains, you can have an entire e-commerce store on there. You've got marketing tools like email campaigns, you've got analytics built in, scheduling via Acuity, content memberships. I run my course, 6-Figure Design Club, through Squarespace. You've got now invoicing and then even creator tools. So BioSites helps you get started with a free website. So if you weren't familiar, now you are. Go to squarespace.com, obviously, if you want to learn more. Now, who am I? So my name is Sam Crawford. I'm an industry-leading Squarespace expert with over 450 Squarespace websites built. I'm getting flashbacks to when I said this on stage. And now I also coach other Squarespace web designers how to scale effectively and pretty stress-free to 6 figures. If you go to 6figuredesign.club, you can learn all about it there. You can apply for the program. Now, let's get into the stuff that you actually want to see. So, number 1, maximizing your potential as a Squarespace designer. This is super important, and it's something that I really just want to hammer home. And it's perfect for framing the rest of what we're going to go through. Now, the solopreneur boom, this is something that I preach every single day. So I have 6-Figure Design Club, and then I also coach in another coaching program. And people ask me, Sam, you know, how do I scale? How do I start an agency? Should I be hiring people? And I always say, until you reach like multiple 6 figures, that's going to cause you more of a headache. And we're seeing this now with the one-person business. It's extremely popular, and for good reason. It's because the tools now, and we'll come on to the tools in a couple of slides, but the tools are all there. They are all there. What would traditionally take maybe 4 or 5 staff members, these tools allow everything to be done by one person. And so I would encourage the majority of people here, unless you're turning over, 200, 300K a year, to stay as a solopreneur. I think it comes with many advantages, and this is what I want to come on to now. So the freelancer's advantage. Now, so some of these you probably may have heard if you've worked in an agency before, or you've had a very jargon-reliant client. That didn't mean that to rhyme, but you may have heard, touching base within an agency. and if you have a team, you have to check in almost every day, multiple times a day, maybe to stand up in the morning. This takes a lot of time and it kind of restricts your freedom. I've also got in here flexible, no agencies. Now, if you guys are familiar with jobs boards, you may have seen this now in jobs posting, is people are moving away from wanting an agency to do their website. They want to work direct one-on-one with an expert. And this all ties into the solopreneur boom. People want to work with the expert. They want to work with people. They don't want to go through chains of command. So this is something to bear in mind, especially as we go through the workshop, is you don't need to take on all of this extra stress, or at least I believe that you don't. This whole masterclass is all about my own experience. I'm not plucking things out of thin air. These are things that I've done and that I've had great success with, and that I want to give to you. So lower stress. You don't need to do your touching base every day. You're more flexible. We're going to come on to how to run your day as a web designer. If you need to go and pick the kids up from school, or you have a hospital appointment, you don't want to be touching base with multiple different shareholders in an agency. It's also cost efficient. You don't have to pay subcontractors. You don't have an agency taking a cut of your earnings. Speed, you can reply to clients like that. You don't have to go through layers of red tape, and all the profit's yours. So just bear this in mind. If you have a bit of paralysis by analysis, oh, what direction do I go in? I'm telling you, a direction that's worked extremely well for me is the solopreneur. So here's some tools that I have had great success with in terms of being a one-man band. Now, I must say I am now an agency. I got to a point where I had too much work and then I had to scale. But only until 6 months ago, I was doing everything alone and it was absolutely amazing. So the tools that have helped me: SEO, obviously you want to be found. So I use SEO Space, obviously. There's no other Squarespace SEO tool. If you want to be found online, if you want an inbound lead funnel, then you need to be using SEO Space. You need to be creating content, and you want that to be adding to your outbound strategy, which should be basically pitching on jobs boards and LinkedIn daily. Now, onboarding and proposals, you can use a ton of different softwares. One I like is called Bonsai. A lot of you in the chat will be familiar with this. I'm sure there's a ton of people who've signed up via my recommendation. But basically, you want to be able to send your onboard form, collect all that data from a client, and then send them a proposal in a streamless a way as possible. That allows for that, and you don't need a VA or an admin assistant to do that. So there's one team member gone. SEO Space, you don't need, if you can't afford it yet, a SEO specialist. There's another team member gone. Note taker, really simple. I just use either Notion or Notes on my phone. You can take down anything from a client call. You can use AI note takers. I'm looking into this at the moment, but when you're just starting out and you want to keep costs low, you want your tech stack, as people like to call it, to be as lean as possible. Simple notes, it's absolutely fine. You can track all of your leads, you can track call notes, and it's all completely free. Interactive feedback, again, this doesn't need team intervention. So I use, I've got a whole segment on this in a little bit, but I use something called Markup. Now again, there's lots of different ones, but basically you want to be able to send a link to a client. And instead of all the team hopping on a call and, oh, can we try this? Can we try this? Just let them annotate on the site. So you send them a link, it shows them their new website, and they can just annotate, we like this, we don't like this, and we can go through rounds of iterations really quickly. Mail and templating, this has been a game changer for me. So obviously I just use, I can see Zoe saying Markup changed my life. Love it, changed mine too, to be fair. Now, mail, obviously just use Gmail, or I guess people use Outlook, but Gmail is great and it has tons of different plugins. So one that I use for templating is, what's it called? Streak. And so what you can have is all of these different sort of canned responses. So I have one for sending out the onboard form, sending the proposal, sending follow-ups, sending the first draft of a page, all these different things without having to type it out. So obviously as a solopreneur, we have such a limited time. And by saving, it may seem minuscule at the time, but if we're saving a minute here, a minute there, 10 times a day, every day for 2 years, we are buying back so much more time to either, just chill out or put back into the business. So really, really important. And something to consider is, you want to aggregate those marginal gains over time. And then a video content editor. So for those of you who follow me on Instagram, I've been documenting my YouTube journey. So I create a ton of YouTube content, ton of short form content, and I'm scaling my ad revenue up to, it's past $1,000. It's almost at £1,000. And I don't hire like a fancy video editor. Again, you don't need that team member if you're trying to keep costs low. I use an app or a software called Descript. And this is basically like an AI editor. You cut out the ums and ums, which would be good for me. And it's super cheap. And basically what it does, it gives you this professional looking video. I think you can even upload it directly to YouTube from there. And that way you present yourself as an authority to clients, and it's a great lead generation tool. So all of these come together to bring in inbounds with the video content, with the SEO, to make your client process better, more efficient with the onboarding, the proposals, your feedback, and your mailing. And then in terms of just making your life easier and keeping track of everything, a note taker. Those tools will put you in such good stead if you go away and implement them all now. If anyone has any questions about that, by the way, just pop them below. Now, I want to talk about the potential just quickly. So let's head to there we go. So if you can implement all of these, I would imagine, I've just been through this, but I would imagine you could save maybe 10 hours, possibly even 15 a month. And that would free up so much of your time to work on other areas of the business. And in terms of actual income, it's hard to put an exact figure on it, but if you can professionalize your onboard and your proposals, if you can then professionalize your markup and your offboarding, you're probably looking at least a 10% rise in your income pretty quickly, because you have such a slick process. Clients respect the professionalism of your process upfront before they've even paid anything. But because they have such a good experience all the way through, they're more likely to then recommend you to other clients, business owners, no business owners, and where it does spread. So I think John's just put something in, templating snippet again. Yeah, I'll come back onto that, but you can expect pretty quick gains if you do all of these. Now, number 2, leveraging the Squarespace platform. And this is really, really interesting, because I was racking my brains trying to think, okay, if people are coming onto this webinar, what can I tangibly give them to say, hey, go away and do this and make more money? Those of you who know me know that's kind of what I'm all about, is the business of Squarespace. And so I'm going to give you a list here. These are all not all of them, but a lot of different ways that you can make money from Squarespace without having to do a full website build. Some people don't like doing that, and that's cool. And one thing that's actually not on here is the affiliate program. So if you get signed up to Squarespace's affiliate program, it's like $100 plus per website that you get live. So make sure you signed up to that. That's such low-hanging fruit. But in terms of services, obviously Henry's going to love me for plugging SEO space, but SEO setup. So what I would recommend is you can charge for like basic SEO setup, meta descriptions, meta tags, page descriptions, all the fundamentals that get missed on so many Squarespace websites. You can charge like a basic $200-300 just to fill those in. You can even AI generate them. I think SEO Space does that. Then you can say, okay, well, I'll do an audit of the whole site, run an audit, and then you can charge, whatever you want for that. I think, again, Henry done a workshop on that, but you can charge for the audit, and then you can have an optional charge for the implementation. So DFY, DIY. Domain connections, obviously, there's been tons of domains coming over from Google to Squarespace. That means a ton more customers who need domains connecting. And it's actually such a prevalent thing that people want a domain connected to the Squarespace site that I'm seeing services pop up. I don't know if he's on this call, but I know a guy within the Squarespace community who set up a completely separate business just connecting domains. So this is a gold mine. Number 3, accessibility audits. So there are so many ADA and I think is it ACG compliance tests that you can run a website through. So you just put the URL in, it's a free scan, and it will give you a report. Now, you can't really charge money for a free report, but what you could do is charge for the interpretation. Do you know how doctors will charge for the interpretation of test results? Well, that is far more valuable to a patient than the test result itself. So what you can do is say, hey, I'll run it through, no problem. And then charge maybe an hour or 2 hours to interpret and say, hey, again, there's the DIY. You can go away and implement these, or I can charge and then I can implement them for you. Having 2 monetization options, one which is fairly simple to do, and the ROI is pretty high, and one that's harder to do but a much higher price point is a really effective way to capture both ends of the market. Multilingual site setup. This is another plugin for Squarespace. So for those of you who aren't familiar, Weglot is basically it's like a language plugin for Squarespace. So you can create multilingual websites just by plugging this in, saying, hey, we want this in Spanish and we want it in Portuguese. And there's loads of other languages, by the way. It's not just those 2. But you can say, okay, well, I can set that up for you as a client. It's already in the Squarespace dashboard. You just have to sign up, implement it. Super easy. Again, really small, not small task, but quite easy for us, but hard for the client. And so they respect our time and our prices more. Zoe asks, what do you use for accessibility audit? I think it's called, I'll just quickly check it now. ADA compliance scanner. It's called accessibilitychecker.org. I think you get 3 scans a day on that. So check that out. 7 to 7.1 upgrade. This is awesome because there is now a direct migration path, I believe, from all 7 sites to 7.1. And so what you can do for a client is, hey, I can do the full upgrade, and you can do, again, the DIY, DFY. So think, well, I can click the button and upgrade. That's one price. Or I can click the button, upgrade, and then redesign. That's another price, and that's a higher price point. One word of caution for this is when you do this, make sure you duplicate the old site first. You want to back up because if for whatever reason something breaks, then there's no going back. So just be sure to always have a backup. Layla says, love Weglot. Yeah, definitely great tool, really easy to implement. So for us, we find it easy. Most people don't. So this is where we can get those really easy wins. Acuity configuration. So obviously Acuity is a huge, huge company. I believe it was acquired by Squarespace. Someone can fact check me on that. But this is easy for us to do. We can put in the different appointments. We can put in different price points. We can set up the payments. This can be, a $200, $300 project. It may take a couple of days. It may take 1 day. Low-hanging fruit, high ROI for our time. Payment setup, obviously Squarespace now has Squarespace payments. A load of people will be coming onto this over time. Squarespace is doing the marketing for us, bringing us new custom. If we just make people aware, hey, this is something that we do, then again, we're going to get more customers who want this service. Might take 10 minutes to do, you could charge $50. Same with Stripe, same with PayPal. Having someone set up, well, having a professional set up your payments, it just gives a client that sense of security. And I think people will definitely pay for that. And I think it's a very valid expense as well. And then finally, this is something, all of these are something that I will be doing next year, but this is something I already do. It's a design consultation. So you can charge by the half hour or by the hour and say, hey, you can either be on the call or I can do a pre-recorded run through of the site and I'll, fill the time, give you a report. That's DIY. If you want me to go through and do the design, that's DFY. Just in case no one knows, DIY is do it yourself. DFY is done for you. I'm speaking in jargon without explaining. I do apologize. Anyway, design consultation, I charge $295 for a 30-minute design audit. They can be on the call or they don't have to be. And then for an hour, I think it's $400, something like that. So just to give you an idea of prices and where I put them, food for thought. Sam fact-checked me. Acuity is part of Squarespace. Yes, I got it right. Okay. So next up, how to structure your day as a web designer. Now, it's such an interesting thing for me. I've tried every day plan under the sun, every single one. And so I'm going to put mine at the end, what I do right now. And there's one, well, I'll show you them now. There's 4 main lifestyles that I've categorized here. If you are not in this, then I'm sorry, but you can take the best parts of each and kind of put it together like a pick and mix for your own day plan. Diana just quickly asks, do you charge an audit fee for all website design leads? No, only people who actually request it. Now, 4 main types. So you've got the 9-to-5er. This is someone who has Squarespace as like maybe a side hustle. So side hustle, but they're still in a job. Now you can replace 9-to-5 with 10-to-6 or 11-to-7, whatever it is. It's just that work day. The busy parent. So if you are a parent, and I feel like such a hypocrite because I'm not, but I've worked directly one-on-one with parents through my coaching program. And I know the one that I'm going to do, it looks hard, but it has worked. And I'll give you the case study. And then we've got the leap taker. So this is someone who has just come out of the 9-to-5 and they're ready to just kind of go all in, do whatever it takes. Then finally is the optimizer, which is someone who's taken the leap. They've just put all the work possible in. Now they're looking to increase productivity, maybe get some more work-life balance. Just checking the chat. Any tips for opening template shop on Squarespace? I'll come to that one at the end. I don't sell templates for reasons that I'll get onto at the end. So the 9-to-5er, and just to say, I have been all of these except parent, so I have experience. Now, 9-to-5er. So you're going to be part of the 5 a.m. club, but I just want to preface this by saying if you are a night owl, you can swap your deep work into this area here. So just swap it to the night and then you can have a sleep in the morning. That's fine. But I found when I did have a job, I was way more productive in the morning. When I got home, I was always like, all I want to do is just chill out and do like either shallow work or watch TV. So if you can, it is better to do it when you have your highest willpower. For most people, that's going to be in the morning. If it's in the evening, that's cool. Completely fine. Just put it here. So wake up and just get straight into deep work. So, I mean, obviously get ready, but get ready, get into deep work. And what I've tried to do here is give a fairly decent chunk of work. So if you actually do deep work, so if you look at this, this is almost 2 hours. It's 1 hour 45 of deep work, no phone, no distractions. That is just as good as 5 or 6 hours of scattered work where you've got emails. Like I have a huge screen here. You've got emails up on one side. You've got Instagram and chat up, WhatsApp on this side, and then some work in the middle. I can do 6 hours of that, but it's not deep work. It's not really going to move the needle. It's just going to keep things ticking along slightly. So 1 hour 45 is more than enough to move the needle in your business and move you over to becoming the leap taker if you want. So I've also give a Juliana, yes, this will be available to watch later. Then I've got a commute. So, if you've got less of a commute, amazing. If you work from home, even better, you get more deep work time. But I've tried to be fair with a 45-minute commute. I figured that's kind of where most people sit. In your job, it depends what you do, but if you do have a chance, and I'm ashamed to admit I did do this, try and maybe answer some emails, try and do some shallow work when the boss isn't looking. Don't blame me for that if you get caught, though, obviously. Have your lunch, obviously, you can just chill out a little bit, commute back. Then when you get back, instead of like sitting down and watching TV straight away, this is a really, really hard habit, but an important and beneficial habit to form, is just crack open the laptop and do a little bit of work, like 45 minutes. It's not that long to just sit down, put your bag away, and then get into whatever that overarching task is that needs to be done. Just get it done. And then you can see from 6:30, you're free. Like, you're free to do whatever it is that you want. And then sign off, because obviously if you're up early, then you may want to sign off pretty early as well. Now, the busy parent, if you don't like waking up early, this is even worse. But I'm going to tell you a quick story, and he might be on this call, Brian. So Brian was a basketball coach at a high school, and he's got 3 young daughters, and we did one-to-one coaching together. And I said, okay, Brian, at this point he'd quit his job and he'd gone full-time to Squarespace. But I was like, if you want to spend time with the family and have a life, you kind of need to segment your days. And this, again, it's not going to be for everyone. But what we did was we got up super early, and you can see we were able to get 3.5 hours of deep work in. That is huge. It's a huge slot. And then he was able to get the kids up, take them for breakfast, take them to school. And then once they were in school, he could have a nap, and we could segment that up. So, what's that? 1.5 hours of sleep. There he is. Brian's in the chat. Love to see it. Brian can attest to this actually working. So if you think, Sam, you are so far off the mark, I can tell you I'm not, because Brian's done it. And then he was able to pick up the kids, do some shallow work if possible. But the most important thing here is he was up. He was up and there for his girls in the morning and in the evening. We've got family time, but he hasn't sacrificed his work whatsoever. He's done the deep work. He's put the hard yards in. He's as non-sleep deprived as it is to be, or as you can be if you're a parent to 3 young girls. But he did it. I'm really proud of him. And again, it's not going to be for everyone, but I promise you this works. If you can segment your sleep ever so slightly, and you can commit to doing the deep work in the morning, then you'll be ahead of the vast, vast majority of people. Now, the leap taker. So this is going to be possibly the hardest. And don't worry, we do get onto a slightly later wake up. But this one's 6 a.m. So hopefully slightly more sleep and slightly more attainable for some others in here. Now, deep work, again, I'm a big proponent of when you have to make it work, get the deep work, front load it into the mornings, because that's when you're sharpest. That's when most people aren't even up. And so it's really important to try and get it in here. Then, grab a breakfast or a coffee. I should have said in the other ones, you are allowed breakfast, you are allowed to eat. For some reason, Sam hates sleep. I don't, I promise I don't. I just sleep at different times. Now, grab breakfast and coffee. I'm a big proponent, when you kind of like valuing your health. I feel like if you go out and do physical activity, whether it's a walk, whether it's bike ride, run, gym, whatever it is, just splitting the day up a little bit, getting out the office, getting some fresh air, it keeps you so sharp that the contrast is so stark to when I I'm being lazy and not going. And when I do, when I get out, when I go to the gym, when I eat, I mean, I have got a penchant for chocolate, but when I eat mostly healthy, I feel like my work is so much better. I'm better on client calls. I'm better on these workshops. And overall, I'm just more productive. If you can't do it, that's okay. Maybe just try and get out for a walk at some point. But I do value this highly. So that takes me about 2 hours. And that's because I walk to the gym, which takes like half an hour, and then do the workout and whatnot. Grab some lunch and then straight into deep work again. Now, if you have the luxury of not having to go to work, well, not having to go to the office, try and get your calls and shallow work in from 5:30. Now, this works in the UK because it covers UK and most US time zones. If you're in a different time zone, maybe you'll have to juggle this. Maybe pop this in the morning and then pop the physical activity in the afternoon. But basically, you want this long, unbroken segment where you can take client calls. And basically, when you go full time, you're going to have to become a bit more of a schmoozer and like get to talk to clients a lot more instead of just emails. Here's your site, off board. If you can get onto a video call with them, it makes all the difference. Shallow work is things like just sending follow-up emails, pitching, social media posts, things that don't require too much brain power. And then this is exactly what I do now, to be fair. Dinner, prep for bed, so you're ready for the next day. Now, the optimizer. So that's going to be my superhero name. Basically, you want a little bit more sleep. And actually, I'm just going to check the comments. Sam knows what's up. Layla, I despise early mornings. That's honestly fine. I think if you want to prioritize a deep sleep later into the day, then just move your segments around. If you take the segments, like the blocks that we go through here, and just apply them, think of it like I don't know, Tetris, I guess, and you just move the blocks so they all make that straight line. That's completely fine. But I think the inputs are what's most important here. Now, the optimizer, again, I do prioritize sleep, I promise. I do wake up a little bit earlier. I'll go out and grab a coffee. This is completely personal to me, but I feel like if I just have a coffee, I feel a lot more alert. Maybe that's fight or flight response, but I do feel like I can get some good deep work done if I just have a black coffee, no milk or whatever. And then for 3 hours, I'll just do like a full deep work block. So for me nowadays, that would be setting tasks, communicating with the team, actually doing stuff myself, to be fair, recording tutorials. So for YouTube, planning things like this, planning scripts, all things that require a lot more mental bandwidth. Physical activity, you know all about that. Lunch, shallow work and calls. So the earlier you can get onto calls, the better, because what you want to do is cover the most time zones possible. Because if you think about it like this, you know, some people will say, all I do is I only take calls. Some people say they don't even take calls, which I don't know how they get clients, but people will say, I only take one calls for 1 hour. Well, what about the Australian time zone? What if you're in the US, you know, what about the UK time zone? What about Asia? There's all these different time zones that you want to try and spread yourself across. If you can't do them all, that's okay. But I would recommend, I have a call slot for, I think, 5 hours a day. And that covers UK, most of the US, and then I don't know where else, but most places will be able to book a call with me. And then small tip, complete tangent, but a small tip all the same, is in my call booking, like the link, I have a link in there that says, do none of my time suit, request a time here. It goes through to my site. There's a form and they can request their time zone, the time, leave their name, leave their email. I can then follow up. If we can't find a time, then I'll just send my onboard form. But if we can find a time, well, great. I've just captured the lead that otherwise wouldn't have booked in. So that's a tidbit there. And then, yeah, try and sign off a bit more bit more time at the end of the day just to kind of decompress. Now, I'm a hypocrite because for the past 2 weeks, I've just been working until like 10, 11, but usually I will try and have this time because I do believe it's important. Now, the 7 stages of client communication. We've got about 20 minutes left, so I'll try and get through these pretty nifty. So every project you have, to stop infinite scope creep, you should have guardrails. So think of it like when you go bowling, that was my bowling action. When you go bowling, you ideally want the guardrails up so you don't end up doing a gutter ball and getting 0 points. I was bowling at the weekend actually, and I got loads of them. But without guardrails, clients will ask for things that are completely out of scope, not because they're trying to like get one over on you, but they just don't know that this is out of scope. And the more or the less guardrails that you have, the more you kind of have to say, oh, well, yes, because I didn't define this and I didn't define this. So this is really important, and I would take notes. So the question is, okay, we know that we need guardrails, but how do we do it? And what we need is a step-by-step action plan to take every single project through. So standard operating procedure, SOPs, is what's going to keep us on rails. Now, number 1 is setting up the initial call. You want to be able to send a client a link and say, hey, book using this call. You don't have to go back and forth with like 5 different emails. Oh, hey, what time zone are you? What time can you do? Oh, I can't do that day. Can you do this? None of that. You want to remove all points of friction. Say, hey, here's a link. It will show up on their side in their time zone. So they book in, great. Confirmation email, done. Then the onboard form, we've been through this, but you don't have to write it on a whiteboard and like ship it off to the client. But what you do need is a template. So every single project, you should have a proposal for already built that outlines the context. The proposal has a template for deliverables, a little bit about, why me, why I'm so great, and a space to put the pricing. All you then have to do is change the pricing, change the deliverables. That's it. It should take 5 minutes. Proposals traditionally would take maybe days to put together. By using a software, by having a template, it looks to all intents and purposes to the client to be an extremely detailed, bespoke piece of, proposal. But for you, the time spent was virtually 0. Really, really important. And you want to front load the structure of the project. So essentially within this, you need to say, hey, this is exactly, and this is the context, this is exactly how the process goes. So we'll do the call. Okay, check. I'll send the proposal, check. And then you can walk them through how everything's going to look. You'll get this many rounds of revisions. You'll get an update via, something like markup. We'll do the handover, and during the handover, you'll get training. You'll get, for me, I say 30 days of free email support. Really important to say, hey, here's what you do get, and really, here's what you don't get. Zoe says, booking links are a lifesaver. Yeah, absolutely. John, would anyone have a structured proposal template for Bonsai? Yes, for those who want it, it is inside Six Figure Design Club. And it's a resource in there. Now, communicating your first draft. Talked about this. This is markup. You don't want to send a client a link and they'd be like, well, what do I have to do? Do I have to write on a script and send it back by carrier pigeon? Like, how do I communicate this? You do not want the client to have to ask you, how do I communicate changes to you? If they ask that question, then you failed. What you want to do is send an email in a canned template with Streak and say, hey, and I would record a video walkthrough to give them the context of what you've done and your reasoning. Hey, here's the video. Here's the link to the site. If you password protect your Squarespace site, you can share that with them. And then here is the markup link. So here's where you can provide your feedback. Here's a 30-second guide to markup. If you go on YouTube, I actually have a guide for it that I created for that exact purpose. And then they don't have to ask a question. They watch the video, they look at the live site, they leave their feedback. Really, really easy, really, really slick and efficient. And hopefully they say this. This is sick. Now, dealing with intra-project comms. Layla asks, do you use Loom for videos? Yes, I do. Then we have dealing with intra-project comms. So you can see here, when I talk about canned templates, this is exactly what I use. So I just number them so that it's easy for me to reference, like whereabouts in the project this would go. So I know number one would be like the sending the onboard form. Going back to the solopreneur, it's far more efficient to just build in Squarespace, keep external voices and team members to a bare minimum, keep everything lean. You'll have far better profit margins, less stress, and be far more flexible. Now, number 5, navigating tricky clients. Now, this is meant to be me walking away from a tricky client. But one thing that I've discovered over the past probably year or two is what you need to do with tricky clients is just give them options. So when they ask for something that's completely out of scope, and I had this morning, a client was like, "Can you do this, 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 and this?" I said, "Well, what we can do is," and I'll always try and give some leeway. So what I said was, "Well, we can do this part free, absolutely no problem, but the rest we'll need to mock up." So it was like adding icons and all of this. We can mock this up. It will be $600. Would you still like to move forward with that? Or would you like to just go forward with the free part? So it's not no, and it's not, oh, yes, we can do everything. It's okay, well, here are your options. There's no option C where we do it for free. It's like paid or free, but we don't do all the crazy scope that you've just tried to add in. And they will always stay within the guardrails. As long as you prefaced it in the proposal, like, hey, this is how we're going to run a project. Now, again, same sort of quote down here. I'm always happy to accommodate. This would be charged. Like, you don't even entertain the idea of, oh, I'm sorry, this isn't in scope. You just say, well, always happy to accommodate. This would be charged at, let's say, $200. Are you happy for me to go ahead with that? And what will happen is the client will come back and say either, oh, no, we don't need that. Because a lot of the time it's just a superfluous request. They'll say, oh, okay, actually, let's leave it. Or they'll say, okay, cool, do it, but at least you get paid for that scope creep. And it's almost like training the client to stick within those guardrails. So really important communication tip. Then the handover. And this is like inception, because this is what I'm looking at right now. But basically, you want to coach yourself out of a job. To go back to Layla's question before, this is done via Loom. So I will record a Loom video of the client site, so a bespoke video. Don't use like a template. Every client's website will have unique needs and unique functions. So record a walkthrough. If they're going to pay you thousands of dollars, the least you can do is send them a bespoke video, 20 minutes maximum. Hey, this is where you find your settings. This is how you have blocks, sections, colors. You know, Squarespace's menu system can chop and change. So make sure that you say, hey, again, this can change, but here's where everything is for now. If you have any questions, just email me. And if a client asks you a question in a couple of years, just answer the question. Don't try and charge them for it. Always try and be nice, because those clients will remember that and they will recommend you to way more people. So for the sake of, you know, charging them $20 for an answer, think of the thousands and thousands of dollars that you'll get from new business. So also really important is you want to get paid and then do the handover. Make sure I always do a 50% before and then a 50% upon completion payment. So get the 50%, then initiate handover. Say to the client, hey, once the handover is complete, I will give you access to the site, and then I will give you your handover training and set up the domain and whatever. And then just create that line in the sand. So make sure you're saying to them, hey, once this is done, I will start your, again, for me, I will start your 30 days of free email support from today. That is the end of the project. You never really have to say to a client, hey, we're done. You can just say, you know, it starts from now, and that tells them enough. And then offering post-project support. You can, well, I always offer 30 days of free email support. So if they have questions, no problem. If there's a issue that was caused by me, then I'll do it for free, obviously. If they like delete the whole site, obviously I'd have to charge for that. This is just me at a conference a couple of weeks ago in Kansas City. And basically, I've went above and beyond for this client. If you check them out, they're called Communications Network, so comnet.org. And I was like, why do you always, like, did you go with me, and why do you always recommend me? And they said, well, because of your bedside manner, they called it. Just basically being nice, being speedy, being polite, doing a great job. And we actually became really, really good friends. They invited me out, halfway across the world to this conference. I met the team in person. We had some drinks together. It was amazing. And so treat every project like that client could be your friend. They could recommend tens of thousands of dollars of work to you. So don't try and nickel and dime them if you can do it, and it's not too much skin. Is it skin off your back, or not too much effort anyway? What results can you expect? So I put this list together the other day, and I think this captures it well. So it's an iterative process. You're not going to go through all of these things right now, but if you put these steps in place over time, consistently, you will start to see really good results. And it won't be instant, because word will need to spread. You'll have to get used to submitting proposals, and you'll have to get used to running the client call and trying to be more personable and doing the handover training. This will take months, but you need to start now, and it won't be overnight, but you will see success. It will take, again, a lot of getting used to, but when you start putting guardrails in place, you'll feel far less burdened. You don't have to think as much, because the management process is already in place. Within 3, it will feel completely natural to run the calls, send the links, send the templates. Everything will be set. All your templates will be ready. You know exactly how to run a project. It will just be second nature. And then once you have an entire new roster who are all part of that new process cohort, everything will change. Everyone will be used to that way of working. You will have them all sort of within your pipeline. They will all know where they need to be. They will go through the project, loving the process. They will recommend you more business. And it's just this huge cycle that continues and continues. Now, the 10-step checklist for web designers. And I'll go through this one pretty quick. I think this is only one slide anyway. Yeah, perfect. So these are really important things to look for, because I know a few of the people on here have just started. They're part of the other coaching program that I do for Squarespace beginners within a course called Digital Launchpad. And this is, I wish someone had given me this at the start, because I made so many mistakes. Now, styling cohesion. So when you get to the end of a project, you want to make sure everything makes sense, because if you're so far in the weeds, sometimes you don't bring your head, far enough above water to actually see what the whole website looks like. So go back through with a new set of eyes. Are all the pages built? Have you added the favicon? Have you added the logo? Have you added all the client's color palette? Have you done the fonts? All of these things, like, is there enough of a font hierarchy, H1, H2, H3, H4? Then you want to check any code. So if you've used plugins, CSS, HTML, JavaScript, code blocks, embeds, whatever it is, make sure that there's no errors showing up, and make sure it's not slowing your site down too much. Now, Google can throw up some really gnarly scores. I think my website gets like a D. Don't worry too much about this. It's a very small piece of the SEO pie, but it is important. So if you can get your site to be quicker, then absolutely do. And same with your clients, obviously. Image size, image quality, and alt text. Make sure that is in place for all images on the site. So just make sure they're compressed, but without sacrificing too much quality, and make sure that there is alt text on them. Legals, privacy policy, cookie banner. Squarespace recently improved their cookie banner. So that's great. That covers it. I think it covers GDPR. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it does. Privacy policy, always get this to be like legally airtight. Don't just like type one up yourself. I would go to, I think, Termageddon, to a free version and then a paid version. That's really good. Redirect. So if you're moving over a client site and they've got loads of pages that they want to get rid of, make sure you're putting 301 and 302 redirects to or from any of those pages they're leaving to like a new page. So if they have something where they had like a team page or something else and they want to get rid and have just like an about page, redirect that URL to the new URL. Really important. What else we got? What else? 404 page. Squarespace's default 404 page. It doesn't give too much context. So you can build a custom one, put it in there, redirect people to where you would like them to go if they hit an error. Termageddon, I'm just looking at some comments. Termageddon loves web designers too. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people have really good success with them. SEO basics, so plug in SEO space. They've got a free plan. Just run a quick scan, make sure everything's in place. Header and footer. Most people, because the header and the footer are different setups, they automatically think the footer works like the header. Oh, I put this page in, and so everything will be updated in the footer. But that's not the case. The footer is a completely separate entity. It's built like a section within Squarespace. So you can have blocks in there. You need to manually change things. Make sure, everything's linked in there. Everything looks as it should do. And then finally, you need to check your mobile version. With Fluid Engine, it completely depends on the order that you put blocks into that section. So if you put a block in on the right-hand side and then the left-hand side on mobile, I believe the right will go at the top and then the left will go at the bottom, but really it should be that way around. Looks like I was doing Vogue then, didn't it? But it's really, really important to make sure that everything works well on mobile, because it's all well and good doing on desktop. We all pretty much design on desktop. Some people, me, have forgotten in the past to do the mobile version, and then it's gone live and it's just been a disaster. So please make sure to check that. Now, if you want to connect with me, you can email me at sam@sixfiguredesign.club. If you are a Squarespace designer, which I assume most of us are, and you want to scale your income to 6 figures within a year as effectively and stress-free as possible, then go to sixfiguredesign.club. You can apply directly on the website there for the program. There's so many people in the chat that I can see who are students of mine, and they're all absolutely smashing it. Really proud of them. Deborah, quick question, says iPad View. There's a plugin for that by Square Websites. And if you want to connect with me on Instagram and YouTube, you can see the handles here. I also have another channel where I do Squarespace tutorials. So I think there's about 370 videos on there. If you want to know anything about Squarespace, head there. If you want to know how to scale your income, go here. If you want to see my posts about coffee and going to the gym, then go to Instagram. Now, that is that. We should have, hopefully, and we've got 5 minutes at least. I might go over 10 minutes. If people have questions, please feel free to pop them in into the chat now. So if we want to bring down the presentation, I will get stuck into some chat, some questions. Let's take a look. Okay. We'll start from John. So John says, hello, Sam, hope you're well. Could you provide the streak templating snippet again at the end? Is fine. The streak template, I don't have a template for that. There will be a template within Six Figure Design Club, but basically, I'm not going to try and shield you on paid stuff. Just aggregate all the things that you say to clients. So there we go. Aggregate all the things that you say to clients, like, hey, here's my onboard form. Hey, here's a proposal. Hey, here's the first iteration of your website. All these things, copy them, paste them into a template, and just have them ready to go. It's pretty self-explanatory. You just want to basically save all the answers that you give, and then you can give them in a really quick templated way. Dennis, Google has email templates as well. Oh, amazing. So you might not even need Streak. You could just use Gmail. What do you use for your accessibility audit? We covered that. We covered the audit fee. So Jalissa says, do you have any? Oh, okay. So template shops. this is something that everyone wants to do, because templates, you make it once, you sell it forever. Sounds amazing. But if you aren't the absolute best designer, or, top 5, 10% of designers, or you don't have a huge following that you can sell to, it's really, really hard. And to give you an idea, I was trying to sell templates a couple of years ago because I had the same dream. And I was like, I'm going to sell templates and I'll be rich. But it doesn't happen like that. Not a single person bought them. And I was selling them for like $49. And they were good, but no one bought them. It has to be exceptional. It has to be amazing. And I believe there is another Squarespace designer who has a course on selling templates. She sells great templates. Kate Scott. She sells amazing templates and has a course on that. Maybe check that out. But everyone who I've spoken to who wants to sell templates, who hasn't sought out advice from a professional, they always come back and say, hey, I'm just building sites again. Templates doesn't work. So yeah. Do you optimize for larger deep work in the afternoon because of time zones? That was Luca. No, I do shallow work in the evening. So that would be because my call slots are from 3 until 7:30, 3 p.m. till 7:30 p.m. because I want to capture UK office hours until 5 p.m. or maybe 5:30 p.m. and then US sort of start of day. I know in New York that accounts for like 9 a.m. till 11 a.m., something like that. I could stay up later, but yeah, I wouldn't sleep that much. We have site maintenance, pricing for clients. I don't do it. In fact, I've done a webinar on ways you can get retainer clients, which was great. That's on YouTube. Now, maintenance makes it sound like, you're updating plugins and whatnot, and you're just not. Squarespace does all the heavy lifting for us. So unless you are promising like certain amounts of hours a month, or that's pretty much it, really. There's not many ways that you can monetize that without basically saying to the client, hey, I'm just going to copy and paste analytics from the site and show you. John, would anyone have a structured template? Been through that. Loom videos, been through that. Mock-up. Diane says, great way to maintain boundaries and give options. Yes, thank you. Is it good to offer an upfront free website, and if they like it, they will pay? Could do. If you are just starting, it's great to practice. It's great to, get a handle on the platform, and it may be successful. I can't imagine the hit rate is fantastic on that though. Sarah says, do you set up the domain or tell them how to do it? I offer them, again, the choice, DIY, DFY. If they want me to do it, that's part of the package anyway. If I was a consumer, I would expect that at the least. Though I do offer them that chance. But some people don't want to share a password, and they say, well, we'll do it. And I just say, okay, here's a YouTube video I have. Diana says, do you ever collaborate with any other professionals? Yes. So I have like a Rolodex of people that I recommend. So SEO, copywriting, social media ads, Google ads. There's some other stuff as well. And then I have a graphic design company, which obviously I'm biased, but I recommend as well. Termageddon, where do you do alt text on Squarespace? Says Deborah. If you double click on your image block, you can add the alt text into there. Can you please put up again all the ways to contact you? I can't, but if you can email me at sam@sixfiguredesign.club. Someone else had sixfiguredesignClub.com, so it's sixfiguredesign.club. Also Instagram.com/SJCRWFD. Layla says, do you only work with Squarespace? Yeah, I only work with Squarespace. I committed everything to the platform because I think it's the best solution for most people. If you go to my own website where we have our portfolio, bycrawford.com, so you can see under my name there, Sam, founded by Crawford. Head there, you can see the work that we do. And so I fully believe in the platform and the company. Dylan, where do you get inspiration from? Web designs? Yeah, so awards is a big one. What else? I think there's another one called Godly Websites, something like that. Maybe GOD.ly, something like that. Behance, Dribble, they're really good. You can see what other designers are doing. That's pretty much it. They are like the biggest collections of amazing design that you can get. Lucas says templates could be a way to downsell. Yeah, I have a student who is doing this, and he basically has templates for every industry that he's worked with. And if someone can't afford his services, he'll say, okay, well, here is a built template within your industry. You can either DIY or DFY. DIY, here's the template, you pay whatever fee and you populate the content, or you buy the template and we populate the content, and that's a higher fee. Sharon says, how do you deal with clients not respecting the set project schedule? You can't do much. People say, and I guess this would be the last question. People say, oh, you need to charge them late fees and all of this. That's just going to give the client an awful experience. And it's going to make them feel rushed. They're not going to recommend you, no matter how good the website is. They're not going to recommend you to other people because you rushed them and you were kind of trying to fight them over every small point. So I would just say you need to stack enough clients so that one client being slow isn't an issue, because you'll find most clients are slow. They take a long time to send content. They take a long time to get feedback to you. And so you can realistically juggle 10, 15 websites all at once. And maybe you only have to work on one or two at one time. That's what I've been doing for 5 years, and it's worked amazing for me. In fact, there was one more thing I wanted to say on that. Yeah, like you don't want to rush people, because I followed up with a client and he was like, oh, hey, Sam, sorry, I haven't checked in earlier. My house was lost in the hurricane. And I was like, could you imagine if I had sent him, 3 weeks of late fees on top of everything that he's going through now? All I had to say was, I'm not coming from a place of trying to rush him. I'm like, hey, we can, completely stop the project, go and rebuild everything, whatever you have to do, and then we can come back to it. Because, obviously I would do that anyway, but I don't have to chase. He can take as long as he wants. And whenever we come back to the site, he will remember this whole process. I think that's really important, because you never know what's happening in a client's life. I think that's all the comments. Amazing. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. It means a lot that you all turned up. Honestly, really appreciate it. And if you do have any more questions, just send me an email, get me on Instagram, whatever you want to do. I'm always here to help.